Hey y'all, it's your captain for all things creative coming at you with Married at First Sight, Season 17, Episode 23, Decision Day Part 2, the last episode before the reunions. So if you are new to this channel, welcome. Please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And if you're returning, thank you so much for rocking with us. Let's get into this episode. So the first part is all about the divorced couples who've been had their decision day already. But we still start with Chloe meeting with her friend, and she's crying over not knowing if she and Michael will stay together. And next thing you know, you're seeing everybody getting ready for the last kickback. And who will not be in attendance will be Claire, since she's working. Also, Brennan did not come. I don't think they gave a reason. And then Cameron also did not come. And from last week's after party, we find out that Cameron had some heart problems. So this last kickback, Becca cries and gives Lauren her flowers. And Orion starts to piggyback on how great Lauren is until he starts fighting with her again about who is not following up with who and who is not texting who's not authentic. And Orion kind of gagged Lauren a bit when he says that Lauren is acting like she doesn't want anything from him and is said about it, but he feels like it's really the opposite of what she says, because he was like, oh, you counted how many days I didn't text you back and whatnot. And both of them have too much smoke for each other, right? But I'm still on Lauren's side, because Lauren maintains that she doesn't want anything from Orion, and he's the one who publicly kept asking her, to talk to him and be friends again. And Lauren maintains that, the only reason they need to keep talking is if they want to be in each other's lives or not. She does not want him in her life that way. And even Austin jumps in at first, since, their fight is a little bit annoying. And then Orion basically says, well, he knew he didn't want the marriage from since day 2. So that's a little bomb that he dropped again. He was trying to gag Lauren, but Lauren had something for him. So next, Becca and Emily tried to, use the momentum that, Orion and Lauren started to kind of shift the conversation back to like the men versus women fight. And they basically say how the women are all seeing this pattern about the men not going in the process for the right reasons. And I'm kind of sick of this, battle of the sexes that they got going on. But then Lauren calls Orion out for stringing her along past the supposed second day of the marriage, when he knew he checked out, because he, you know, again tried to gag her about knowing that he didn't want her from day 2. And then she tells him that he should have left her alone. And she was like, bye. And she basically exposes him for like fighting with her and crying on her shoulder and like doing all this dramatic stuff past day 2, when he knew that he didn't really like her, right? So then Austin tries to interrupt Lauren again. Then she checks him for not letting her talk by saying that, she never interrupts him and Becca when they're talking, and Orion never lets her finish anything, not a sentence, not the marriage. So it's her time to pop her stuff, since what she has to say is valid. And I said, okay, Lauren, I know that's right on one hand, but on the other hand, all of them need to go home, because this is just a dumb fight. So then Lauren basically just keeps maintaining that Orion is the one that drags her back on his emotional roller coaster, even if she has tried to walk away. She has tried, to keep her peace and be respectful, but he always has smoke for her and is always trying to like drag her back again into this negative cycle. And she starts to cry a little bit, and then Orion finally apologizes. And then the group goes back to cheering on Michael and Chloe about their upcoming decision day. Now, an after party, Michael said that in an ideal world, he would have pulled Orion aside and told him to let it go, because again, Orion is the one that ended the marriage, and he was acting like he wanted his friendship, and he's just like using every instance to just get under Lauren's skin. And Emily also had jokes too, saying that she thought it was comical that Orion took over the conversations, since he was only in the process a day. So then you see Michael talking to his people, and the main takeaway was that he was feeling uncertainty about being a husband, and his friend was still wondering, if he might say yes. We then see Becca crying on the phone again, and it's really interesting how she has a pattern of being like so hard and gung ho and like, the leader of the girls when they're in a group setting, but then when she's alone, she definitely like crumbles and just cries, sliding down the wall, all that stuff. And she basically said on this phone call that her anxiety was a big factor, in the relationship, and that she learned a lot about herself. She got to start learning to trust herself again. All that stuff we've heard before. Next, you see Michael and Chloe meet, and they talk about the future. And Michael holds Chloe's hand through the conversation, which was sweet. And I think overall, Michael is my favorite guy, and Cameron is a close second since he be keeping it real on After Party. So the next big scene is with all the ladies except Chloe doing this boudoir lingerie photo shoot so they could, get their sexy back, reclaim their confidence. And Becca says, that throughout their marriage, they all maybe have forgotten the good and may have, lost their swag, if you will. So this is their chance to just regain all their confidence, and they can use, the eyes of the photographer to see the best in themselves and minimize, the negative and the flaws and like accentuate the good. And, they all share kind of things that they dislike about themselves, but also things that they like. So then Becca says, she's self-conscious about her stomach since she still has swelling and scar tissue from her surgeries, but she loves her eyes. And Lauren says, she hates her butt because in her community it's too small, but then outside of her community it's too big. But overall, she loves her skin. And Claire says she hates her saggy boobs, but she loves her legs because they're strong. And Becca also reveals that that black lingerie that you see in the picture that she wore to the photo shoot is the same one that she had in her hand and dangled in front of Austin before he left the room, took all the sheets off the mattress, and just ran away from her during the couples retreat. That was a little bit sad. So she reclaimed her, self esteem and got a chance to wear that lingerie that Austin ran away from. Um, so yeah, that scene was interesting. So now it's finally getting to Michael and Chloe's decision day. First, you see Michael and Chloe separate for the night before, and Chloe says, that forever is a long time to have to decide about, so she might not sleep that night. And, they hug it out, and Chloe leaves first since Michael stays back to wrangle all them animals that they got. Then the next day, you see Michael getting ready for the decision day, and of course, he's pulling out his best skirt for the day. So he had like kind of like a blazer on top, and you see his button down, and then he had a black skirt that was the same tone as the blazer, right? And then the experts are seen kind of sneak dissing Michael, talking about they hope they don't have to do another decision day again, and ask each other why Michael is acting unsure now since he seems so down to get married again. And I kind of just wanted to shake them all and say, you guys should have paired him up well the first time if you didn't want to do this again. And then this next time, you paired him with a minimalist control freak who was getting several panic attacks and sores in her mouth in front of him just after seeing him and meeting him, on top of then asking to saddle him with hundreds of special needs animals and several teenage foster children. Any man or any person in his circumstance would, take a little pause. But once both of them show up in front of the experts, the experts basically ask Chloe what she felt is going on in their relationship. And I basically heard Chloe blaming Michael for everything and saying, that Michael took a lot of time to let his guard down, and once he did, he was scared of marriage. And then when he started doubting and she started watering her own seeds of doubt. And I thought, does this lady forget that there was cameras around, and you know, would have served her better if she told the experts her truth and, admitted to almost walking out on him at the end of the honeymoon after all her panic attacks. And then, after that incident where she blatantly told Michael that she didn't know she could do this thing, she then demanded a break from him when things were going a little well right before, their housewarming party, and she took a couple days apart. And then when things were going well again, that she started requesting, you know, that he help her get an animal sanctuary with hundreds of special needs animals and also foster all them children, So she kind of skirted around all of her BS, and then Dr. Pepper gently asked her, to unpack her own self by asking Chloe, if maybe she had requirements that might have been scary versus just hopes and dreams that she declared, And then she admitted that her request for an animal sanctuary and whatnot probably was scary. Michael then talks about it, what he thinks is up in the relationship, and he takes the classy route by talking about his own feelings and himself. And he says, there's nothing he can point out that's wrong in Chloe, but for him, he's wondering if in himself he has found a desire to want to continue to be married. Then Pastor Cal starts to try to convince Michael that he's overthinking and that his marriage is good. But Michael says he uses his feelings as a guide, since he mainly stays in tune to how he feels when he's around Chloe. And even on the after party, he said he was always wanting to be present in the moment, but because of that, he feels like maybe he could have told Chloe more of how he felt, a lot of the time. And then Dr. P also starts to convince him, Michael, that, he's glowing when talking about Chloe. And I was wondering, is he just sweating? Because all the signs are pointing to, like, he's going to say no, right? And then Dr. Pepper just cuts through all the small talk and BS and asks directly if they want to stay together or not. And surprisingly, Chloe basically says yes. She says she started the journey saying that love is a choice and that she has waited to make her choice until that moment. And now that she's in the moment, she's feeling a lot of things and she feels differently than she thought she would ever had. And I kind of wanted Michael to say yes, but I knew he was going to say no. And he basically made some speech that was interrupted by a commercial break, which made me irritated because these producers kept dragging out the season, and how dare they drag out the decision too. But, Michael says, knowing that he wants a divorce since he can't be the husband that she deserves right now. And Michael gets to crying, and the experts get to crying too, because I know they must feel guilty for dragging this man through heartbreak twice. But Michael basically says he's sad, but really he's not the person that he strives to be just yet, So that's it for the season. There are no couples. And next week there's going to be some kind of episode where they bring back older maths people like Paige and I think Rachel, so I'm probably not going to watch that next week. But I did see a little clip for the reunion where you see Brennan calling out Emily, being, firm in his ground, saying, well, I never slept with anybody. And, she's going to walk off crying because, everybody knows that she cheated now from after party. So the reunion looks like it's going to be good. And, of course, they're dragging it out. And they're so wicked for this, man. Whoever is organizing the schedule, they need to pay for their crimes, because there's no way that we need to wait for the reunion after all this dragging out of everything. But say how you felt about everything in the comments. I'm probably not going to do a video next week since I'm not going to watch that non-reunion episode. If the reunion does magically come on, like maybe that episode is like in place of after party, I don't know, then I'll do a video. But whenever the next reunion episode is, when I'll do the next Married at First Sight video. So like, comment, subscribe, and remember you're the master of your fate and the captain of your soul.